The previous installment of this mini-series had the R7 to 60 range of cards from the GCM family pitted against the demonic invasion on planet Mars, and their performance, while acceptable, had me worrying about how the lower performing cards would do. The entry-level cards from the GCM family, or at least the ones that are more likely to run into, are as follows. The R7 to 50 using the AMD XT GPU, a cut-down version of Cape Verde LE, the HD 7750, also known as the R7 to 50E or R7 to 50 512 SP using the Cape Verde GPU, and the HD 7770, later named to R7 to 50X, using the Pro variant of the same Cape Verde. To test these cards, we will play the first few minutes of Doom at low settings using the same Z230 workstation from HP. The CPU is the same i7-4772 equivalent Xeon, and it is paired with 32GB of DDR3 running in dual channel at 1600 MHz. And if the performance turned out to be too bad, well, there's another trick that one can try in the second half of the video. As usual, we'll start with the 1080 resolution low settings, and unsurprisingly, all the cards take a beating. The HD 7770 manages 35 FPS on average, with a paltry 28 FPS for the 1% lows. While good as a ratio to the average, it is bad in terms of absolute value. The even slower cards perform well worse. 23 FPS on average for the HD 7750 with a choppy 1% loss of 13. The R7 to 50 imitates the HD 7750 in performance, and while it is the sincerest form of flattery, this is really not something to flatter. 1600 by 900 does increase the frame rates for all three cards, but are still way off from the 60 FPS you'd need to get the gameplay that the developers intended. The R7 to 50X, see what I did there, averages 42 FPS, and the 1% loss becomes better than cinematic. The HD 7750 fails to reach 30 on average, with the 1% loss still in the teens. As for the R7 to 50, well, it behaves identically. I still had some hope that dropping the resolution to 720 would be enough for a good experience on these little entry cards. Unfortunately, abandon hope all ye who enter here is quite fitting to both this game and the 720 resolution results. Despite averaging in the mid-50s, the experience on the HD 7770 is not that great due to the 1% lows that barely breaks above 30. As for the twins, well, both HD 7750 and the R7 to 50 average in the low to mid-30s, and with forever teen 1% lows. I really like the entry-level GCN GPUs, since they look to be a good, cheap way to play games at 720 resolution. Unfortunately, these little cards seem to be doomed to fade away in the shadow of obsolescence. Unless you disable shadows completely, which, unlike in real life, can be done in Doom. This is nothing that you cannot find on the internet by yourself, but for the sake of completeness, we'll guide you on how to do that. Bring up the in-game console by hitting tilde, type R Shadow Atlas with 8, then hit enter, close the console. All three cards ended up with a boost of performance, and the HD 7770 even managed to average in the mid-60s. The 1% lows for it went for the high 40s, and the game plays just fine. The HD 7750 also managed a good average of 53 FPS and managed a 1% low number of 39. While not as good as the 7770, the game still plays fine. As somebody would say, PAL for life, baby. The R7 to 50, however, failed to imitate the 7750 this time around and averaged only 43 FPS and got a 1% loss of 30. Now, I played shooters at 40 FPS and the experience was fine. However, more busy scenes will have that 40 drop even lower. Now, would I play Doom without shadows on any of these cards? Yes, even on the R7 to 50. The game is worth the effort. Doom deserves to be tested on all video cards capable of running it, and I do plan to do just that, even with this mismatched bunch of cards. Make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the following installment. But as for this one, we're done. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you for the next one.